Retirement withdrawal strategies, part 2. Well, in part 1, we looked at the 4% rule. Basically, that says that you can take out 4%, a 4% withdrawal of your total funds each year, adjusted for inflation each year following, and for a 30-year retirement, 95% of the time, not run out of money with a 50-50 mix of stocks and bonds. William Bangen looked at that in the 90s. He actually found as long as you had somewhere between 20% stocks and 80% stocks, you were pretty darn safe all the way through. So not just a 50-50 mix. Well, that's come under attack recently, and financial writers and analysts have looked at it much more closely. Wade Pfau in particular is a highly respected financial writer. He says that 3% is probably more indicative and probably safer to take out per year rather than 4%. Other financial analysts say, nah, 4% is probably okay. And some actually say 4.5%. Well, what makes sense? Well, let's look at Daryl Kirkpatrick's article, The Best Retirement Withdrawal Strategies, Digging Deeper, done in 2016. Darren is still assuming you're taking out 4% per year. And he has several different strategies. We're going to look at 3 of them over the next 2 videos, 2 today. The first one is called Cape Median. Well, what the heck is CAPE? It's C-A-P-E. Robert Shiller uses it. It's cyclically adjusted price to earnings ratio. Stocks are evaluated individually on their price to earnings. I think most of us know that. Well, he has a cyclically adjusted price to earnings ratio. It's a 10-year average. Okay, well, Kirkpatrick looked in detail as to how to withdraw funds. In other words, you got stocks and bonds. Which do you take out? Both? The regular ratio? How do you work that out? Well, he used Shiller's CAPE, and he says if the CAPE right now, this cyclically adjusted, is higher than the long-term median price to earnings ratio, and it is right now, then you sell off stocks only. In other words, the CAPE right now is around 27. In other words, all the stocks in the U.S. market average about 27 times price to earnings. That's high. Traditionally, it's been 16. So it's 27 now. In other words, it's higher than the long-term median. So what would you do? In this scenario, this strategy, you would sell all your stocks. You wouldn't sell bonds. Why? Because they're probably overpriced. Each year you evaluate. Once it gets down to that long-term median, or in this case around 16, then you can think about selling off bonds possibly. Looks like it's going to be a long time before that would occur. So this is called Cape Median strategy, number 1. Number 2 is strict rebalancing. A lot of us rebalance our funds anyway, each year. But this is actually a withdrawal strategy. In other words, I'm taking out 4%. This isn't my total portfolio of those funds that I take out. What do I take out? Strict rebalancing. Well, this strategy, number 2, is when you withdraw each year, you want to bring your asset classes back to your original mix as close as you can. In other words, if you start out at 50-50 during the year, 50-50 mix of stocks and bonds, and it drifts up to 60-40 because you've had a great year in stocks, what do? You sell off as much as you can of stocks to get it as close as you can to 50-50. 4% may not be enough to bring it back in line. Doesn't matter. You sell off as much as you can to get it this close to being there. If it's 40-60, you'd sell off bonds to get it back to that 50-50 mix if that's what you want. Okay. So those are 2 strategies, Cape Median, strict rebalancing, and we're talking about taking the money out of your account, that 4%. The rest of the mix we're not looking at here, but when you withdraw your money, where do you take it from? Stocks or bonds? This does not get into tax strategies talking in terms of tax deferred or taxable or cash accounts. It's just generically overall what you would take out. Next time we'll go over another strategy.